How everything been going your way, bro?
Man, they working me, man. It's trying to see it all as blessings. You know how it goes. And I was
Yeah,
just I was just thinking coming in here yesterday, I was thinking, you gotta be careful what you ask for. That's the first lesson. And
yeah,
then today I was thinking, Lord, you can't process every single thing in your life at one time. Like you gotta count your blessings
yeah.
instead of counting your problems or whatever going on. You gotta count your blessings first. So that's what I've been trying to focus on.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
Bro, things been good. I've been getting a lot of downloads. Just I'm back. I got that dog on again, just staying focused. And it's one of those things where I look at life like a video game and I constantly sit, and like you just said, like I try and analyze my life in pieces. I think God has blessed us both with multiple gifts and talents, but I got to sit with each one and say, okay, is one affecting the other? Is one causing me to get off track? And so I'm constantly trying to just improve and be better and dive deeper into purpose, be a better business owner, right? Just be a better man in general. And so that's what I've been doing. And now, bro, I really feel like I get it now. Something about about the 30s, bro, just like the wisdom and just the maturation. Like I just see more of myself and I'm just catching my patterns and I'm focusing more on myself and less on external things. And I see how it's affected my life and my relationship with God is causing me to advance and get better. And lessons, and sometimes when you kind of get in that rut or that funk, it used to take me a lot longer to get out of it. But now immediately I'm like, oh, nah, Caleb, don't do that. You about to spiral down. If you go that way, you know it's gonna take you in the opposite direction. And so now I feel like I'm just really aware and I'm at a place where I'm choosing pain. I'm choosing to do something hard every single day and allowing that choice of pain to produce my pleasure versus seeking the upfront pleasure and then that pleasure producing a pain later on in my life. And so that's what's been helping me stay on track. And it also, Warren Buffett recently announced that he's retiring. And it made me think about you, bro. And there's a question that I want to ask you today with what we're talking about. Living a full life. Like, bro, do you see yourself ever retiring? Do you see yourself retiring like completely, or do you see yourself working to like 94 like a Warren Buffett?
He's 94.
94.
Boy, they say money don't buy happiness. My goodness.
It by longevity.
94?
Yeah.
Man,
94.
94?
Yeah.
Now, that needs to be studied because it's rare that white people live that long. Like, you never really see white people live that long. And I don't know what it is, why they don't, but like my mother-in-law's mother just passed, and I think she's like 94 or something like that. But then the other two grandparents that I seen pass on my wife's side were 90, and there was just like spur of the moment things popped up. But that just caught me off guard. As you say 94, I'm like, Lord, I need to make some money then, because but he is an anomaly, and I feel like for me, if I'm that age, if Lord let me see that long, I'm still gonna be working.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't like see it as work. Like, but I still, and I think he's saying he retiring, but I bet he's still gonna get up, go to the office, be looking at them numbers,
Yeah.
crunching them numbers. But I did see he cashed out like a couple billion. I know
Great work.
I heard of at least like 1.3 billion reported that he cashed out. So I would imagine it probably could be 2 to 3 billion or more that he cashed out of his stocks that he's now moving into his family trust, or like into sitting in cash, and now
Yeah.
finna start to disperse that amongst his children and prepare for the and grandchildren and great grands and all of that, because I'm guessing it's about to be a crash,
Mm.
a
Mm.
bigger crash than what we already experienced. But I'm guessing it's about to be a crash. And I think was it him? They said he called out Donald Trump and what he doing with these tariffs.
I'm not sure on that.
I think I heard about that he called out Donald Trump with these tariffs, and how it's basically saying single handedly Donald Trump is crushing everybody. Like he killing the rich. Like some people portfolios down 40%. And but for me, I keep my money in me. The money
Yeah.
that I put on the market is like that's money I expect to lose, and if it win, I win. But it's not like I'm not finna put what Warren Buffett be doing. I can't do that. But
Yeah.
So yeah, bro, I would not be retiring. But as of right now in this season, boy, I feel like retiring right now. Boy, I feel like retiring right now. And I'm like, and you such a soldier, man, and like you carry like you there for everybody. And I'm finna put some more on you. I'm finna put some more on you cause what I need to do, I need to take me a couple of breaks to where nobody could reach me. And I need to figure it out like, okay, Caleb, how I call AT&T and get these texts forwarded to you, to your phone, and you carry it for a week. And then when you go do yours, then I carry you for a week.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know you wouldn't need that, but it's like I need it, boy. I'm
Yeah.
like, cause it's like it's heavy right now, cause it's like everybody needs you, and I got too much going on, and so what the Lord is telling me is like, all right, now remember to count the cost before you start one more venture. Like a venture always look good before you start it, and then when you start it, it come with a whole another load of just weight that you got to bear on your shoulders every day. So
Yeah.
I'm learning that in that season, and then at the same time looking at all the stuff that's going on in the media with these men.
Bro, it's so much. It's like what a time to be alive. Like it's a blessing at the same time, but it's also like, whoa, it's a lot going on, but it's always been stuff going on. And bro, I that's one thing I'm so thankful that I got an opportunity just to work and travel with you so up close for them 4 years because it's helping me on my journey of like, okay, I need to say no to this right now. I'm getting better at saying no because when you have a heart and you want to serve and help people, it's hard to say no to people. But in this season, I really been like learning to set boundaries as well as, bro, getting out of my comfort zone and hiring people. I'm like, okay, I need to hire an assistant here. I need to automate myself and use AI to automate this certain part of my life. And so in this season of like building and really focusing on building something new, I'm like, I'm gonna automate and delegate from the ground up so that way I can stay in my zone and follow the motto of do what you do best and outsource the rest. And as a man, learning how to say like I need help. That's something I'm realizing too. Is like I struggle. I'm so used to doing it all on my own because I've dealt with people that fall off, can't be counted on. Their word don't mean nothing. They're like, yeah, yeah, bro, I'll help you. I'll do such and such, and then disappear. Or you get a message like, hey, I think I got to step back. So I've always been in this mentality, like, man, I'm not gonna depend on nobody. And it's like it's needed to an extent, right? But then also it's like you do got to have that time where you're able to like, okay, I got to step into a higher level of leadership and be able to delegate and trust. Like, yeah, they may not get it done like I would get it done, but we can put a system in place to get it done this way, right? And then I review it. And so I get it, bro. And I'm here for you, bro. We're gonna hold it down and the mission gonna go forward. But man, in the media too, man, I thank God for the Shannon Sharp situation. I hope he learned from this and get his life right. But man, it's really just it's teaching me a lot too of just like humility and just staying on the straight and narrow. Like, man, Psalms 37 talks about like not being envious of those that do wrong. Like all the demigods and idols of like Hollywood and the celebrities that we look up to. Like, man, I don't envy nobody else's life. Like I'm so thankful for the life that I have. I'm thankful for slow growth because man, I've seen so many men climb their ranks and work their whole life and then to be knocked off and not to say that he's knocked off per se, right? But just like the hit that he taking right now. But I think God allowed this to happen during this time for men to wake up. I feel it's a shift right now where God really calling men back home. Like, hey, listen, you need to get it together. You really need to come and have a relationship with me because you see what the world do to you. The same people that build you up, the same people that tear you down. But it also, I think, it just shows a level of like discipline and where we lacking at. It's like, okay, you can be disciplined and going to the gym. You could be disciplined and dedicated to the work, but you can't be disciplined with who you lay down with and constantly laying down with different women. And you don't see the problem in that, just the reprobate mindset that men can get stuck in. But I think it's a beautiful time to be alive, right? We got the internet, we got this where we can talk and be thousands of miles away from each other, but it's your mindset. You either creating or you consuming. And then if you create, and you got to think about where you creating from. Are you co-collaborating with the creator himself, or are you working from the ego? You working for the opposition, because the opposition, you can win, but he gonna always come back and get you.
You know, what you just said about where are you creating from, and what came across my desk, which is something that I want you to speak on because you're in the same position as this young man who said this, is former NBA player Paul Pierce was on a podcast creating, and he said that marriage is for poor people and
Mm,
old people, and that there's no benefits in marriage for a man. And I know that's a thought that crosses our mind. Like, what am I getting out of this? And you have
wow.
to do the work to be able to look and see, like, okay, what is the value of marriage? What is the value? What do I get from marriage? And me being a married man, of course, I'm living it. My perspective is different. I just got done eating a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich made by my wife as soon as I woke up, So that's a benefit. I woke
Yeah,
up to my wife cleaning the whole house. That's a benefit. It's like
yeah.
she my support, while I'm getting up to come to work, and I'm in the office and my wife is home taking care of Tate and he's sick. So that's a nanny I don't have to call. She cleaning the whole house. That's a house cleaner I don't have to hire. She cooking me food. That's a chef I don't have to hire, and Uber Eats or out to eat I ain't got to pay for. And
Mm,
so it's like I'm looking at it like that, like, okay, I get to live it and be in it, and you see the good and the bad. But from a single man's perspective, what do you feel Paul Pierce is feeling? Because he's been in a divorce, and I'm pretty sure he probably was most likely unfaithful, but he's been married and divorced. And then it's a lot of single men that's saying the same thing. And I know you could see their perspective. So first I want to ask you, like, why why are they taking that perspective, and what do they mean by that perspective? And then when you seek to see the good, what value or benefits are you planning to receive and extract from marriage?
yeah. Man, he right. Right? Marriage is for poor people. And the Bible says, blessed are those that are poor in spirit. See, he had a level where he done made some money, and the money gets you full of yourself and make you feel rich, right? And him, and I think what's the other guy, Amon Shumpert, the other
Hmm.
ball player that just divorced Tiana Taylor.
Yep.
He said the same thing, right? But these guys are full of themselves and they're full of the world, right? So therefore, you can't see the spiritual essence. See, I was thinking about this earlier today. Many of us don't understand men and women for real. We understand it from the world's view and the physical presence of a man or woman in our life physically, but we don't understand it spiritually. So he's talking from where he's at spiritually, right? He don't see the value in a covenant because he doesn't have a covenant in his spiritual life, right? And so therefore you spew off and you say things like that because you're full of yourself. And I've been there as a single man who worked hard in his 20s, made my first million before 30. I kind of got into that point to where, that money start rolling in. I don't really got no responsibilities outside of myself. It's easy to start thinking like that. It's easy to get full of yourself because your spirit is there's no humility there. You didn't got full of yourself. You didn't got the ego, right? But now, God having humbled me and just really being locked into my purpose and my mission in life, I see the value of a wife. And it's something like, man, this single life I'm thankful for because I can stay locked in on the purpose, but it ain't something that I desire forever. Like I've been reading Proverbs 31 and really trying to grasp that. Like, okay, before we hear about the Proverbs 31 woman, we hear about the Proverbs 31 man. And the ode that his mother gave to him saying, don't give in to women. Don't give your energy to women. Don't be wasting your energy there. Don't be wasting your energy on drinking alcohol and substances and different things that impair your judgment, right? So when I hear these guys talk, they're talking from a place of no purpose and no mission. They're just talking from a place of money and status. And so therefore, a man that doesn't know his purpose is always distracted by pleasure. And so you don't see the purpose of a woman because you only objectify her and see her for the pleasure that she can bring you sensually, right? But when you get to a place when you understand your purpose and mission, you get back to the garden like Adam, you need help, right? And then we look at the Proverbs 31 woman, because this is what I think we oftentimes miss, right? The Proverbs 31 woman was a hustler, was a go-getter. She was a mother, but she also went and traded in the market, right? She tended to the house. She looked over the finances and made sure that things were in order. She wasn't just like this, the way that we try and view it in modern sense of like a pick me. No, she was in totality doing it all, spirit, mind, and body, being a mother, right? Being the quote unquote boss, right? And working with her husband while he was tending to business with the elders, right? And I think that's the thing that we miss is men have gotten so far off from real purpose and mission and living from their soul. They've traded their soul for things of this world. So therefore you start to talk like things of this world. You don't understand the eternal. So therefore, yeah, you say like marriage is for poor people, but it's because you rich in the ego. What you have, you've built your house upon the sand and not the rock. And so it's easy to spew and say things like that. And that's why you got so many red pillars out here talking reckless and crazy, because they're speaking from a hurt place, and they're also speaking from a place of no real mission and no real purpose outside of I got money and I'm getting money. But what impact are you having on the world? When you get to heaven before God, he cares nothing about how many shots you took, how many people followed you online, right? But what was your influence? What did you do for the eternal? What did you do for the spirit, not just of yourself, but for other people? And so when I hear guys like that, it's just like I feel bad for them, because I know that they lost and they hurt as well. And they've never experienced the true value of a woman from a spiritual place. They've only laid down with women, right? But they've never truly led a woman from the spirit. And that only comes from God. And so if you're not rooted in God, yeah, it's gonna be hard for you to see like why is marriage important. A woman that you can really love and trust and build with, right? I've been there before with a girl where I've been in love with and I'm in my purpose, and she's a part of that. So I understand how that works, but I also grew up in a household where I saw that. So I have a respect and understanding for that, right? And so I see the value of a woman, but can a woman see the value of you outside of your money? See, most men are just chasing that, just chasing the money, chasing the bag, but there's no purpose. There's nothing for her to get involved in your life, to really expand the mission and the purpose, because you don't have that. So yeah, so you looking for a woman you can just take care of versus a woman say, hey baby, I need you to go do this for the business. I need you to do this on top of being CEO of home, right? You're giving her something to do. And that's where a lot of men are lost and lacking at, especially within our community, because they've never seen it, you know? But I understand like that whole help meet piece. For me, it's not just marrying for love, it's marrying for the mission and the purpose. And yeah, I love you, and God is love. God is that glue that holds us together. But baby, I got work for you to do. You know, like CEO of home, but then also managing the business, managing the finances, managing our kids, right? Everything that we do should be fruitful and multiply. But how many of people do we see that have money, right? But then when it comes to fatherhood, like they just send in child support, or their kids are going to the best school, but their soul, the spirit of that child is disconnected from true discipline and masculinity. Right? There's no real father figure there. There's just like a filler. There's a placeholder, and you depend on things of this world to advance your lineage and your legacy, and that only goes so far. But just when you understand the spiritual side of things, and you understand that everything in this world is spiritual, it gives you a different viewpoint. So these guys have gotten so full of themselves because of the money, the fame, the status, and they've been with so many soulless women, right? And they've never tapped into the spirit. I get it. Yeah. Yeah, marriage is for poor people, but the Bible says, "Blessed are those that are poor in spirit." You got room for God to come in and lead you, and so therefore you got room for love. And if you fully yourself, you only operating from lust. So that's kind of my 2 cents on it.
Hmm. And that's deep, and that is a through line where, not a through line, but it's the separator between how we view things. When you viewing things from God's lenses, from His perspective versus from the world's perspective, and it's like if I don't care about my purpose and being pleasing unto God, then I would feel the same way Paul Pierce and them other guys feel, because not connected to anything, not
Yeah,
rooted and grounded in anything. And when you're pursuing pleasure, and it makes perfect sense, because that Paul Pierce is the same guy that was, I think, fired from ESPN because he was on live with like strippers and weed and all of this. So like he literally lives that, American Pie type movie lifestyle, where the prostitutes and the models and the strippers and the drugs and all of that, to where you got to do a podcast with dark glasses on, because of the state of your eyes and what the story they gonna tell on you.
Yeah.
And so, and we've been there as men, whether it was very young but it's mind boggling to me to see guys in their 40s still in that space.
Yeah.
Like, to see guys like in their 40s still sleeping with random women,
Yeah.
not like being settled down. And that right there, I believe, if we allow life and everything to distract us from living our purpose, meaning getting our message into the world, those type to combat the other messages, those type of messages will take over.
Yeah.
And one thing about it is the enemy works very hard. And like when you look at like Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco, they show up every night. It's like with a nightcap, we need to show up every night. It's like the men of God, we be resting sometime. We be tired up, or we be up focused on other things. But the adversary and that mission, that message, a message that is absent of God, it goes out every single night and every single morning, every single afternoon. It's like no matter what day of the week it is, you can turn on, you can watch live a podcast that is doing nothing for your life,
Right.
other than entertaining you or confusing you.
Yeah.
And so that right there, just in this moment, I'm like, hold on now, Lord. Now I don't know if I could go every night, but I need to figure something out to where
Yeah.
we got a message going out that is going to balance the scales and
Yeah.
gonna combat things. Because in addition to Shannon Sharp, Paul Pierce, P. Diddy jurors is being picked right now. And TD Jakes was implicated in his situation. One of the lawsuits, a guy implicated TD Jakes and said that TD Jakes was at the parties and that he was known as a power bottom. And I don't
Mm.
know if that means I'm guessing it means a powerful, like a rich and famous man who is the bottom in a homosexual act, is what it implies to me. Cause you the bottom, so you ain't giving no power. So I'm thinking it's talking about a powerful man. And
Mm.
that became the term. And then the day before the jury was picked, which was on Mondays when they started interviewing jurors, TD Jakes stepped down and turned over his church to his daughter and son-in-law. And then I just seen yesterday they also going to change the name from the Potter's House whatever to the Bridge Frisco, Texas. The Bridge Frisco. And so I'm like, either that's very coincidental timing, or he has been notified that somebody has drug your name into this, whether it's true or false, and your name and your church and your legacy and everything could take a huge hit throughout the course of this P. Diddy case. So you may want to buckle up, take a seat and buckle up, because the timing is just a little too weird for me. But what that speaks to is the spiritual warfare, because whether that's true or not, the church, if that happens, if that comes out, if they mention in his name and stuff, the church still has to go through that with him. And we still have to be looked at, and people will say, did y'all do this? Is this how y'all move? Is this true? And then another man at the same time, another man suing TD Jakes for sexual harassment, no, sexual assault. And man, it seemed like a money grab in a sense, but I can't really speak to that because the women are doing the same thing, where the women are coming out 20, 30 years later. And so this man who they saying this man was arrested and went to prison for sexual assaulting young boys, like minors. Now he coming out and he's saying TD Jakes sexually assaulted him. And he telling the story. I watched the little interview he did. He telling the story out of his mouth. And I'm like, if he lying, boy, that's a crazy lie to tell.
Hmm.
And then TD Jakes and them counter suing him. And I'm like, man, in what world and at what time do we expect? Because this could all be lies. But the fact that even if it's lies, the fact that, and that's an issue right there that I have to use that word, a giant in the Christian faith, because no man should be an idol or whatever, but a giant in the Christian faith is embattled with these type of allegations and these type of lawsuits. And it's like that's what we going through. And then now I seen yesterday, I'm guessing he was a singer, Smokey Robinson, is 4 women suing him for 50 million. So that's the number right now. And just like Shannon getting sued for 50 million, Smokey Robinson getting sued for 50 million by 4 Hispanic women who was his housekeepers, say that he was brutally aggressive, sexually assaulting, like forward on them. And they didn't want to say nothing because of their immigration status. They felt like he could affect their immigration status and get them, deported or get their citizenship canceled or whatever, like the process. So they didn't say anything. And now they coming out and they talking. And I'm like, man, if these are lies, like Lord, give me what I need, the strength I need if somebody want to wake up and lie on me just for the sake of lying, just because they ain't got nothing to do. And so that's the space that we in. And we're gonna have to, I doubt we'll get the full download right now in real time while we talking, but we're gonna have to sit down as men and really just kind of put our heads together and say, okay, we need to study the art of spiritual warfare, and what do we need to do as men and as frontliners if we got to go through that type of battle, to where a woman tells a lie on us, or if a woman tell her truth on us, or if a woman, or we get set up, like we get in a position where a woman is trying to set us up or trying to be a temptress or trying to see if we'll do at this age and at this stage what men go through in their teenage years and early 20s and stuff like that. And so I think and I feel like that's for every single man, like your everyday man who's not an entrepreneur, who working a job, steel toe boots and a lunch pail and a hard hat. That woman you bump into at the red light, that woman in the cafeteria, that woman, that work the front desk when you go in, and all of that.
Yeah, yeah. It's kryptonite, bro. It's kryptonite, and a lot of men fall victim to it. The sex sin, never having been abstinent before, and so, and even just when talking about the spiritual leader, I'll say he's a giant in religion, right? Because your spirit speaks for you if you really live in it, right? Because we praise and we put people up on these pedestals when we don't know God for ourselves, and we depend on other people to deliver a word and a message to us instead of realizing that I got the same access to God that He does. Who is He, right? And not to negate for what He's done, within the community, but just when you hear these stories and just different things comes out, like part of it is like, yeah, just being a public figure. But how many men do we see that are married and really faithful and then really faithful to God, hearing these type of stories coming out on, right? So going back to what Paul Pierce said, like, man, marriage is for poor people. Okay, all right, cool. You putting yourself at more of a risk. You hanging out with strippers, you sleeping with this girl, that girl. It ain't enough NDAs in the world to try and protect you. What spiritually is a sin against your own body, a sin against your own flesh. And I think that's the thing. And again, I've been there young and dumb and just sleeping around aimless with like different women, but now being a born again man and just understanding like my boundaries. Most men don't love themselves enough to say no because the ego gets us full of ourselves and saying that, man, I conquered her. Or look at this woman that I got that I'm sleeping with or I'm next to. We think about our physicality and our bravado-ness, right? To be able to lay down with a woman, but women are extremely influential. A lot of times we think it's us, but it's really them, right? Like Eve got Adam to do something that was contrary to God, and he was in direct access with God in the garden. We forget how powerful women are, so you got to understand your boundaries and stay in that God-given masculine frame of saying no and being disciplined. Having a covenant with your eyes to say, man, I'm not gonna get caught up with in lust and looking at every girl that I see. I'm at the gym and I'm on the incline machine working out chest, and this girl came and sat right in front of me. And when I sat down, and she had on like I could see just out of the corner of my eye because I was fighting not to look, but she had on like them little short, yoga booty shorts and like a hoodie on. And I just sat there, I'm like, man, I'm just starting my set, and she right here. And but I just the whole time I just challenged myself to look away. Every time she got up or moved, I would just look to the right, look to the left, because I'm like, this temptation gonna always be here, but I gotta learn to control my gates. I gotta control to be able to say, man, let me look away, let me look down. I'm not gonna start my set until she move out the way and she done with her set and really being able to fight. That's the spiritual warfare that we face for real, right? We ain't really going out having to fight and throw bows at another man or like flesh and blood. It's spiritual. It's when I'm by myself that I got to fight the most, right? And it's an inner battle that nobody else see and know about but me myself, right?
And
And
articulate that, bro. Articulate for the women what it feel like internally trying not to look as a man. Like, how would you describe that feeling? Like for me, when I do it, it feel like I'm about to convulse or about to throw up. Like it feels so natural to look that when I'm trying everything not to look, it's almost like my head be trying to look just
yeah,
on its own.
yeah,
And like I've never been able to not look and just like have no internal struggle. Like it just complete peace. Just like I don't even see her. I ain't, like it's all like I could feel the struggle,
yeah,
and it feel like I don't know, like I'm about to throw up or like my head about to just rip off my neck if I'm trying to find some words for it.
yeah,
And I haven't got to that place to where it just completely easy to where it's just I can mindlessly not look, not call on the Lord. What is it? How would you put it into words when you go into that space of like, let me not look and lust? I mean, we're gonna see because you got eyes. So
yeah,
just as a man, we see everything, being aware of our surroundings. Cause I'm always waiting. I'm always looking for somebody with a gun, an active shooter. If somebody energy is off, like I'm paying attention at all times of everything around me. So I'm gonna see everybody.
yeah,
But to look and lay eyes and stay there and lust and to envision what it would look like naked, what it would be like, all that, we've gone there
yeah.
when we in our backslidden state, when we walking like that. So in this space that you in, what would you say? How would you describe that internal struggle and feeling in a visual, metaphorical sense so that even women and your future wife can understand the work you putting in and what you doing?
Yeah. It's a fight, bro. I've said this before, but it's the battle between the dog in you and God in you. Because that dog, I've been there before. Because if we all think back, those of us who are not virgins, remember the day that you lost your virginity and how things switched, how you looked at women so differently, right? Like you got that taste, and now it's an addiction. It's like a form of a drug, and you want it again. And then once you've given yourself over to that over and over again, you've normalized something, right? To where you're numb to being able to see somebody as a human being, right? And then so when you're in an environment like the gym and you see all these women around you and they dressed a certain way, you can see their crack and their crevice in their shape. I don't think women understand how visual men are. And it's one of those things they'll never just fully be able to comprehend, right? Because I've heard women say like, that their sex drive is as high as ours. Like it's I personally don't believe that.
That's
I don't
not
think they'll ever get it. Just our level of testosterone, it's like a chemical, like you said, that convulsion, it's a chemical reaction taking off in you because that's the creative power that God has given us, right? But it's that lust that's calling that creative power to be taken out for us to visualize like getting to that place of conquering her and losing our seed, but it's not fruitful. Because how many times have we laid down to procreate and we didn't come up with the creation? That's exactly what the adversary wants us to do because that's our creative force and power. How many men are like, man, I can't focus. I'm ADHD. Can't get nothing together. But whenever they know, like, okay, I'm about to sleep with this girl or go on a date, can focus, can clean up the whole house, can take a shower, can clean up, can make your bed, right? Because you're using your creative faculties to get to your end goal and your point. But in any other area of your life, you can't. Like that's the biggest downfall for us as men is no sex discipline. And our sex power is our creative force that God has given us, right? But that's supposed to be transmuted and put into creating purpose and mission instead of just wasting it on pleasure. But it's tough, bro. It's a battle. Even just when I'm walking down the street, I'm challenging myself to acknowledge, okay, like I see a beautiful woman coming my way, but just the 1,000-yard stare, don't try and lock eyes because that's wasting emotional energy. Just even our thought power. If we think about how much of our day is caught up in thinking about the other sex, man, did she like me? Is she interested in me? Did she lock eyes with me? What she had on? Do I smell good? Like if we're not careful, we'll spend our whole day chasing external validation and we're wasting and we're draining our energy, draining our power. And so, man, it's tough, but it's one of those things you gotta fight because as the Bible says, adultery, lust, murder, before you do the act, it starts in the heart. And so you gotta stop that scenario from even happening. Because when you stare, the longer you stare and you look and you're looking at her cheeks, you start to envision the position you want to put her in, right? You start to really objectify her and you ain't thought an ounce about her soul, her spirit, her personality, her character, her integrity. Do she believe in God? All you care about is what the dog want. That animal in you. That's all you start salivating like a dog, right? And so like it's one of those things. It's a real fight, bro. But it's one of those things like the more that you fight, the letting go of corn and dirty movies, right? When you stop, you let go of Angela. When you get further and further, when you flee from it, it becomes easier, but it's still a battle. It's still a fight, right? Like every single day, like we got to recognize and remember that we're here to fight and it's spiritual warfare that we're fighting, advancing your relationship with God and your consciousness and your awareness, right? Like that's what that means. When you're unconscious physically, you're knocked out. Maybe your involuntary muscles are still going and you can breathe, but you're unaware and you can be taken advantage of, right? So when you become conscious and you're back in control, like you said, situational awareness. You're aware of danger, but you also got to be aware of lust. You got to be aware of perversion, not just of the outside world, but perversion within yourself, right? Because of energy that's been transferred onto you from all of your experiences, or maybe even things that happened to you in your childhood, right? And so it's a heavy battle that many men fall victim to every single day, and then we losing by the droves. And you just hear and you just listen to guys talk online, and when what comes out of their mouth, it lets you know where they at. It lets you know how low vibrational and just like that's where they operating from. They're operating and thinking from what's between their legs. That's as far as they've gotten as in their maturation. Men in their 40s and 50s and 60s, especially within our community. If I was the powers that be and I wanted to subjugate a community, I would feed them music that made them in opposition with one another and made them objectify women. I would create music that would make women call women out of their name and praise and glorify their body. And that's all that they have to offer towards men. Because as long as the men are distracted with pleasure, they can be controlled, right? And then the women can be manipulated, you know? And so that's exactly like how I see the world. I see it as like a big video game, and I understand why our people are where we are. And it has less to do with the powers that be, and it's everything to do with spiritual warfare and also just the spiritual baggage that we've inherited from generations before us, right? And so now the battle for me is less about white versus black, rich versus poor. Everything is spiritual. You are where you are because of your own spiritual disconnect and your level of of being unconscious and unaware. You don't guard your gates. You don't guard your ears. So when you listen to the music that tells you to objectify women and to look at another man as your opposition that looks like you follow the hoodoo. You follow the witchcraft that's been put on you through your ears, and then you live that out in your reality because that's how you think. That's how you move and operate. And so you don't realize that you're being controlled and manipulated because you've never taken the time to fast and unplug and go 40 days in the wilderness to really connect and find God for yourself. You depend on a TD Jakes, or you depend on some mainstream person to tell you about God, and you get an emotional high, but that's as far as you go. You sitting outside of the club and Jesus is like, hey, come on in, and like you can get a direct relationship with me and know me for yourself. So that's my thoughts on it, bro. It's every day's a battle. There's not a day that goes by that we don't have to fight, right? The thing is that some of us, though, unfortunately, we spend all 80, 70, 50 years of our life fighting the same battles we was fighting at 12 and 13, and you haven't evolved, right? Like that shows a level of retardation spiritually, right? Like imagine you in this you're your senior year of high school, but you read it on a sixth grade level. People would look at you and just like something's off, right? But we praise people who are slow today online. We like, yeah, you heard what he said, but it's because we ourselves are still stuck on that same reading level spiritually.
Mm, mm. That's deep. That's deep, man. As you were talking, I just seen so much in the spirit. And one thing I'm gonna talk to you about off camera, because I don't like to announce, ideals or plans publicly before God confirm it. So we'll wrap on up and we'll talk about that so I get it off my spirit. But like I just said earlier, the Lord said, hey, nah, count the cost before you add on another venture. But we got to talk about that. And I just text a brother, and also my son coming home from his test. Another thing I said, now it's a little unfair for me to say this because I'm married and you single and could be looking for your wife. And so, but let me I would say let's try for 1 week, because you got a week. You done tried it before, but it's a challenge to every man watching this who sees this. I'm gonna share this on my community page on YouTube too, so a few other guys see it. To go 7 days without seeing women, whether you single or you married.
Yeah.
Meaning when you go to the grocery store every day. Don't buy your groceries in advance. Go to the grocery store every day. Go to the gym every day, or go on a walk to the dog park or whatever, and your eyes is eye level, and you don't lock eyes with any woman, and you don't scan the body of any woman, front or back, and just go into a space to where your eyes is on the prize. Your eyes is where you're going. So if you're going into the grocery store, you're looking at the opening of the sliding doors. If you're going to the gym, you're looking at the opening of the sliding doors or the handle, and you are looking at the machine you getting ready to go to, and what you seeing is peripheral. You watching, but you only looking at people in their eyes. So even when you look at a woman, because she could be an active shooter, she could be getting ready to stab you for something you did last year to her. So you still seeing, but you only looking at eyes and up on women. And then the guys, of course, we paying attention to our surroundings. And ironically, it was just a shooting in a basketball gym at a basketball game, and there was another shooting I just seen. And so that's why I say that is a lot of times people don't realize it. Even when I be driving and filming, I be looking around everywhere. And sometimes women don't understand that's just a habit as men
Yeah.
because of where our mind goes and what we be thinking as
Yeah.
far as,
Situational awareness.
yeah, exactly, situational awareness. But I'm gonna give that challenge to myself, because you don't go blind when you get married. Like, just because I'm married don't mean I don't see women.
Exactly.
And if I see women and I register that it's a woman, it then could affect my spirit.
Yeah.
And it then I could start to hear and feel like, man, do I want me another woman? Do I want to experience me something? experience another woman? Man, you've been married for 18 years. You've been with one woman. Man, you ain't gonna experience nothing. You ain't nothing but 41. Like, you want to live to 90? That's 50 more years. 50 plus 18, that's 68 years you finna be with one woman. You sure you don't want to see one more set of lips? You sure you don't want to just feel one more inside of a woman or hear another laugh in an intimate way? Spend some time, feel another woman touch. Like, your mind will go there. And I'm spelling it out for the women. The men already know, especially married men already know. And that's why we have so many affairs, because that's what it is. A man getting into that space, getting into that rut where he's distant from God, his creator, and the mind just starts to go because of it's on a loop. It recalls what you felt, what you've experienced, and you know how it is. Like, every time you meet somebody new of the opposite sex when you're dating, it's like fun. It feels like getting on a roller coaster at Six Flags or Busch Gardens. Like, just the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs, the highs and lows of getting to know somebody, and like hearing how they think, hearing the pitches in their voice, hearing how they laugh, hearing, just seeing their quirks.
Yeah.
It's exploration. And I feel, and that never leaves. Like, you don't get married and then that goes. And even for women get to a place to where, even though they are seen as more faithful creatures, they get to a place to where they want to be pursued again.
Yeah.
Because in that space of pursuit, and unfortunately, Steph Curry wife Aisha Curry said that before, as a Christian woman, as a faithful woman, as a mother of countless children, she came out and said, I want to be wanted again. I want to be chased again. Like, I want a man to want me. And she was talking in reference of like women wanting Steph and women looking at him and women desiring him and saying she want that feeling too. And she just was being honest. Like, people really got on her, but she said the quiet part out loud. That's human.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
human.
Yeah. Man, I feel it, bro. I mean this in the most heterosexual way possible, but bro, like I'm good on women right now. So like I done cut all women out of my life right now. Like I'm good. I'm so locked in on the work and the mission and the purpose because I have been that man that not even sleeping with women, just dating multiple women, talking, just the energy, it just takes energy and time and it's emotionally draining. And I don't have time for it right now. Like I'm so focused on like what I got and I don't had to learn that lesson so many times. You're like, well, let me just go see or let me just try it. Now I don't have the energy for it. God literally got a hand delivered. I'm not looking for anything, right? I'm looking for the purpose and the mission to get deeper in the work that I got. And really trying, it's hard, bro. It's so hard, but really trying to stay like Adam in the garden that I'm working so hard. I'm so in the mission that God himself has to say it's not good for Caleb to be alone. Right now, it's good for Caleb to be alone, right? Because I'm still fighting battles and just things within myself as a man that I need to purify to really be ready, right? But man, it's a battle. It's human nature. We all human. And like you said, just sometimes in that example, with Aisha Curry, she said the quiet part out loud, but that's a real feeling, right? But it shows a lack somewhere else where we haven't surrendered to God 100% to allow Him to fill that void or to fill our cup up. And so like that's where I'm at. So, but I'm with you on the challenge, and me and another homie right now, we're holding each other accountable in the same way. We're reading a book called Covenant with the Eyes, and it talks about that. Like, okay, look away. When you okay, you see that woman, you see that shape, that figure from 100 yards out. Okay, when you get close to her, don't try and lock eyes with her. Don't try and connect or get access to her soul or your soul. Like, look away. Move as if you're already married and as if you're a husband. Because we were talking about too, like it's crazy how when you get in a relationship and a bunch of other women start to show up. But it's because spiritually you started to exemplify a level of commitment and faithfulness, and now you're going to be tested with that, right? Putting on that wedding band, right? It signifies something. It signifies that you're taking it. So yeah, when you meet that girl and you really like enamored by her, you're in love. You go through a period where you're like, man, I don't want no other women, right? But eventually that novelty wears off and you start to kind of wander a little bit, right? But now you also getting more energy and attention on you because you got something that signifies that you off the market. And so now you're tapping into this. Okay, it's a level of envy and jealousy that other spirits can see and say, let me see if I can get them off track. So it's a good exercise for married men and single men, because it's something that we typically never do. And that's why so many of us fall into scandals and into lawsuits, into all these different things. But if we could clean that side of our life up, right? Like, man, just where we can really go and be as a people.
Man, I felt it in my spirit, and I processed it in my spirit of like going into a space where women don't exist in the sense of when you are getting closer to God. And because as you said and you articulated it very well, I hadn't thought about how emotionally draining it is as men when we are thinking like, does she see me? Does she think I'm attractive? Would she want to date me? Would she want to marry me? Am I her type? And just seeking that validation
Yep.
because of like as a man, we battling with that insecurity of like, am I tall enough? Am I muscular enough? Am I dark enough? Do I walk smooth enough? Like, just is my car nice enough? Like, just whatever it may be.
Yep.
And that's so draining because it leaves you in a constant state of wanting and yearning and loneliness and insecurity,
Yep.
in whatever state of life you in, single, married, divorced, separated, as long as you processing and calculating what a woman wants and what a woman is thinking, and the same for women about men. Like I get to see that. I don't get to see that on men because men are not that open and vulnerable, but I get to see it every day on women in my coaching sessions to where they are like a zombie waiting for a man. Like wanting a man, longing for a man, like sitting and fantasizing and thinking about a man all day long, thinking about their ex all day long, to the point that I tell guys who come to me for coaching who want to get their woman back, I'm like, she ain't going nowhere. What you mean, man? I did this, I did that. She ain't going nowhere. If you do this right here, you get her right back. And I just do that out of exhaustion because I be talking to women, they be like, yeah, we broke up 3 years ago and I think about him every day. I really want him to come back. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, you are paying hundreds of dollars for coaching to talk about a man from 3 years ago, from 5 years ago. And so women got it even worse. I mean, men hurt, but one guy wrote a book that I met a long time ago in the infancy of my career. He wrote a book, Men Don't Heal, We Hoe. And I was like, wow. So I was like, boy, you worded that in a way I never heard it before. So it's like men do start to do crazy stuff and have other outlets like gambling, weed, alcohol, women. Whereas a lot of women that I meet, their drug becomes carbs and sugar, which, carbs turn into sugar. So same thing, but it'd be carbs and sugar, like Debbie cakes and red velvets and cookies, and then soda, Coke, and lemonade and sweet tea, and they would just put on 80 pounds.
Yep.
In there, whereas a man who's yearning, he'll go smoke weed, he'll go get the sports betting app, the gambling app,
Yep.
he'll start watching porn. It's like everybody has their outlet. So what we seeing in the world, the reason why we see so many overweight women is their yearning. And the reason why we see so many addicted men to whatever vice it is their yearning
Yep.
and their seeking or loneliness or inadequacy. And so, man, it's something we could talk about forever, and we're gonna have to pick back up and continue diving in on this here topic. But um, I think we gave more than enough food for thought today.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, man, gave me something to think about more and just just that conviction just to keep moving with purpose, just to add up with everything that you said. That's the power of soul ties, and be careful who you lay down with, connect with, talk with, because that attachment is there forever and it takes deep work to cut that tie. And then everything is spiritual, everything has a connection. It made me think about that episode where, you asked me about a woman 50 pounds overweight, and I said that is spiritual, because everything that we do, everything that we put on and wear, there's a spiritual connection there somewhere, right? Like you said, for guys, it might be you go to the weed, you go to the alcohol, you go to gambling, but what's the root of that? What are you running from? From yourself, right? Same thing with emotional eating. What are you running from emotionally that you haven't faced? Because a lot of times it's just autopilot triggers that we fall into. So, yeah, something for us all to think about. Appreciate y'all tuning in to another episode of Louder Than Words, and we'll be back soon. Peace.